Lisa,
Yes, baby girl.
when I grow up, I want to be a WOMENACE to society.
Then so shall you be.
Hey, this is Lisa Landry. Welcome back to A Menace to Society. I'm so thrilled to speak with today's guest. She's joining me from Canada. She just wrote this fantastic book that's going to be coming out soon. Please welcome to the podcast, Reva Steenbergen.
Hey everyone.
Hey, Reva. Tell me about this book. You wrote a book called The Gaslighting Effect. What is gaslighting?
Gaslighting, in essence, is an abusive technique used by narcissists. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to override someone's reality. So what, in essence, they're doing is they're trying to present a lie, and they want that lie to be embraced as the truth. So in the movie, Gaslight Effect, the man is gaslighting his wife by moving things around and saying to her, honey, what did you do? Where did you move this to? You're very forgetful. You're losing your mind. And what that did is that would spark emotional outbursts from her. And as you do that enough, that wears down your spirit. It breaks you. It gets you to a point where you are emotionally dead inside. And they've successfully beaten down your soul to the point that there's hardly anything left in you anymore. And that's the goal of gaslighting. That's what they all try to do. So basically, it is a perpetual, continual cycle of doing something to somebody by which you're accusing them of doing or saying something that they're not doing or saying that is causing a great deal of emotional distress in the victim.
Why would somebody want to do stuff like that?
Because narcissists operate with cruel intention, because what happens is they don't have the ability to feel empathy. And so because of that, they receive pleasure from hurting people. So whereas a normal person would receive pleasure from their child winning a soccer game or a delicious chocolate, or seeing somebody experience joy because of an award that they've received, a narcissist is going to actually receive pleasure from inflicting pain and suffering, which is the opposite to what the norm is. And that is the problem. And that's the thing that people need to recognize. They don't think that a person could possibly be operating with ulterior motive, but in the case of a narcissist, that's exactly what they're doing. And when they're putting themselves in positions of power and authority, it becomes very dangerous for people seeking help as well.
And what is your background with people who gaslight or narcissists?
Well, I share 3 children with a textbook psychopath. He's very calm, cool, calculating, methodical. I've seen every single technique you can possibly think of used on me, left in a cycle of confusion and disbelief and shock, not understanding what was happening to me and why things were happening around me as they were, why people were attacking me that I never knew, and the hate that would come at me, why my children were behaving the way they were, why I was constantly being drilled with accusations of things that never took place, and so on and so forth. So the abuse that I experienced was unsurmountable. It was beyond anything. I used to feel like I should flip on the Twilight Zone, the song, every time something would happen, because that's exactly what it felt like. But yet, while it's happening, you can't put your finger on what's going on. You know something's very wrong, but you don't know what it is.
The guy you were married to, is he your ex-husband, or are you still married? Or
No, I was never married to him. In the very beginning, he stalked me for several months through his roommate, sent his roommate in to get to know me and everything else and gather all the information necessary, then finally got his roommate to introduce us. And I was very vulnerable and lonely at the time, and living downtown Toronto. Next thing you know, I'm pregnant, and I was told I could never conceive. And I ended up giving birth to my first child on my 30th birthday. And shortly after that, I ended up pregnant again. And in the midst of the beginning 3 years was the worst with this person. Then there was a hit out on my life, all kinds of really bizarre things.
He put a hit on your life?
Oh, yeah. I heard him on the phone talking about the details. I was in women's shelter so many times with my son after he was born. So inevitably, I went to go get an abortion with my daughters, but something made me leave that medical facility, and I was like, I'm not going to go through with this. I didn't want to bring any more children into that environment, but something made me leave. And that's when I found out. So those girls actually saved my life. So inevitably, the abuse escalated at that point. Then I left and I moved to where I'm at now. So I successfully escaped before the birth of my daughters. Now, however, he followed. But I always maintained a level of control because I kept my own roof over my own head and then dealt with my own finances without getting child support because, I mean, they're just not going to do that anyway. So all of that stuff took place, and then I've had him in and out through the years of the children growing up. He wouldn't take them. He would see them only under my roof. So that's how I became trapped in that cycle, was because of my children and my desire to want to maintain some sort of family unit. And I'm the type of person that somebody can do the greatest wrong to me. I had a girl when I was younger beat the crap right out of me, and I never fought back. I couldn't do that because I can't do to somebody what I don't want done to me. So I couldn't fight back with her. And afterwards, she apologized, and we became friends again because I forgave her. So in me, I don't have that ability to hate. So even though he's done what he's done, I still have care, respect, and some level of dignity because I would want that to me. And that's been stripped from me completely. I've been called every name that you can possibly think of that's horrible. And that's fine because instead I'm going to give love back. Because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to play that game. I'm not going to go down and be dirty and fight. And I've learned a lot through this process of healing and going through this kind of abuse. I've learned how to maintain yourself through it and how to get better.
Yeah, that's the most important part, getting away and getting better.
Yeah.
You consider yourself to be an empath. How does that affect you being empathetic, being very feeling, kind of having an intuition about people, and then you fall for a narcissist? How is that possible?
Well, because for some strange reason, the two forces are actually drawn to each other. Now, the narcissist is drawn to the empath because of our vital energy that we have. So I feel everything. Like I feel when someone dies, I actually feel what they're feeling. I feel everything from joy, every emotion across the board, I'll feel with somebody else. I'm right there with them. So I don't know. I just think that having that ability, that makes you want to heal the broken narcissist. They're coming to you like they've been injured by the world and everybody's done them such great wrong. So as an empath, you're there and you want to fix them, and they're showering you with this lavish amount of praise and adoration. And as an empath, you want to love and you want to receive love. So there you are. You're right in the thick of things. You feel amazing. You feel like you're being flourished with something that's just so extraordinary. And you fall for it. And that's what gets people into the trap of the narcissist. The narcissist has no intention on loving you whatsoever. A narcissist wants to make sure you love them so that they can then take your love and use that love to manipulate and control you in absolutely unthinkable, unspeakable ways.
So you're like a very caring person, and someone enters your life and they're a narcissist, and they're
Yep.
setting themselves up to be poor little me. I'm getting picked on. Nobody gets me. They're all out to take me down. Why can't they pick me for who I am? And then you as an empath see this person hurting, so you feel like, oh my gosh, he's right. He's just misunderstood. He's my little lovable underdog. And so
Absolutely.
you go further into the rabbit hole of abuse.
Yes. And then when they get you and they get you hooked, that's when they begin to flip the cruel switch. So that's the devalue. So they're idealizing you through the roof. They're putting you up on a pedestal. They're praising you and everything else. But they're ready. They're gearing up to kick you the F off that pedestal very quick. Because as soon as they get you where they want you, in other words, under a control mechanism where you're dependent, it's all about a dependency. Once an empath becomes dependent on a narcissist because they're going to now look to them for a reality, the narcissist is now so subtly painting a new reality as they're doing this. So as the good stuff is flowing, little mixes of bad start coming in where red flags go off, but you don't know what's going on. So you've already become hooked, so you're already there. So now they've got you exactly where they want you. So when they do flip that switch to cruel, depending on how emotionally attached you are, the bond that you experience now becomes a trauma bond. And that's what keeps victims in that cycle of abuse, which is Stockholm Syndrome, that intermittent good to bad treatment that keeps people there.
Because you get powerless? Is that what happens? Like you're being gaslighted
Yeah.
on top of everything else that's going on. Verbal, I would imagine verbal abuse, maybe physical abuse.
Subtle. I think, you know what? I think it's different with everyone, but it's subtleties.
Mm-hmm.
I think the narcissists are very clever. Like in my book, I've actually cited a narcissist, a public narcissist that talks openly about what he does to people and how he views empaths and this, that, and the other thing. He's actually cited throughout my book. So in my book, I have our experiences as survivors and victims validated across the board with a whole bunch of other survivors and victims. Then I've got citations from trained professionals littered through my entire book from front to back up every one of our experiences. And then on top of it all, I have a narcissist, their own words backing up the entire experience. The whole book, front to back.
You've got all sides, all aspects of it. It's like an anthology.
It is.
This is a snippet from your book, so I'm sure you're very, very familiar with it. A narcissist has a different kind of skill set. They play the game of life with malicious intent. People are pieces of which to be moved efficiently and effectively across the board according to the game plan set out by the crafty narcissist. Either they gain or everyone loses. So how is it a narcissist is able to play their game and keep winning? Wouldn't you think other people around that narcissist who don't have a romantic or financial bond with that person?
Oh, no.
Well, how are they able to win?
They are professionals. So what they're doing is they're setting up a stage with all the people. So if you think about somebody that's crafting a movie, they're doing a stage play, well, they have to set up all of the performers, right? They have to give them all a role. That's what a narcissist effectively does in life, realistically.
So they're like a really messed up director of a film?
Yeah, they will sit for hours in thought about how they're going to manipulate a situation. I watched it over and over and over and over again. And you know something, at the very beginning, he told me he's very cruel and people should be scared of him, and then he manipulates. And I remember thinking, look at you, you little thing. I'm not intimidated by you. But it turns out he was right. So here's my advice. If somebody tells you about themselves or shows you themselves, believe them at the very beginning.
Yeah, that's powerful. It's hard for a lot of us to do that because we want to recognize the good in people. Or like you're saying, you're getting love bombed by somebody giving you affection. And if you're in a vulnerable situation to begin with, and then you have this person who is pretending they care so much about you, it's hard not to get sucked into that, isn't it?
Very hard, because you're looking for that love. And the narcissist is simply mirroring what they know you want to receive. They're emulating you. And when they watch you, as in my book, it starts out Predator on the Hunt, when they're watching you, they're looking to formulate what they're going to do before they even approach you. The smart narcissist actually sits back and approaches somebody but sits in the background before they even make an initial contact with the person, because they want to make sure that they get the person that they're after. And they are very methodical about how they go about it. And they'll watch. Like, for instance, people are so open on social media, and they've got pictures of everything. They're talking about themselves. This is open territory for every predator. People need to be smart. Think about who's watching.
It's hard not to get caught up in that. But there are people, I know of a handful of men, actually, a couple women, that actually do sit around on Facebook all day long trying to find out information on other people, stalking them, taking notes, trying to figure out what's going on in people's lives that want nothing to do with them.
Well, that's just sick. That's total trolling. That's horrible. I don't even know that, but then again, that's just part of the psyche.
You have quite a lot of great reviews, and I know this is your first book, so to have these reviews come out is phenomenal. You have Lisa Goodman, narcissistic abuse survivor, who gave you this great quote. So much of the author's words resonate deeply and reflected on the years I was unknowingly married to a narcissist. They could have been written just for me. Do you think a lot of women end up marrying narcissists? And it happens for men too, don't a lot of straight dudes end up with a narcissistic woman?
Let's talk about liquidators. The liquidator, Jeff Schwartz. He is one of the people who's done a review for my book.
Yeah.
And Jeff and I have been friends for a number of years. And Jeff has always had issues with his wife. He could never put his finger on it. He's tried to avoid her, but they're in business together and everything else. So after reading my book, Jeff came to the realization, was able to finally piece everything together, that he's actually married to one. So narcissistic men are drawn to empathetic women, and it's exactly the same the other way. Narcissistic women are drawn to empathetic men as well.
This is not good. I think that empathetic people should find one another.
Well, this is supposed to be the most amazing love. I've never experienced it.
You're blowing my mind because I'm thinking, like, what the heck do we do about that? How do we fix it? I guess read your book.
Exactly, but I go into detail, and one of the chapters is Empath versus Narcissist, and it really, like, even when I was researching online to try to match everything in there and get professional citations and stuff, I came to realize that there's very little that talks about the two, bringing them together in one place. There are articles, there are certain, bits and pieces of information, but there's really nothing concrete. So I made sure that when I was writing my book that I put a lot of emphasis on that chapter. I really want people to understand that the book doesn't just show them what to watch out for, but it shows them how to heal.
And where do we find your book, Reva?
You mean when it's out?
Yes.
On Amazon. On my website, I'm actually going to be distributing direct myself. So I've decided that I'm going to order a certain amount of books and autographs. Mm-hmm. So for those that actually want an autographed hard copy, I'm going to be doing it that way and selling direct. And then, of course, Amazon, ebook, whatever, it'll be all over the place. Then right from my main Twitter page.
How are your children? They're grown now, yeah?
They're okay. Obviously there's issues there because any kind of harmony or peaceful bond and love that I might have had with them, the narcissist effectively destroyed that. One night I was pushed down some stairs because he wanted me to die and I didn't. And he had control of my daughters. And from that point on, things got very vicious. And so I want people who are hearing this and who have shared children to be especially aware of the danger. And the danger really just doesn't go away. You have to be diligent. You have to be smart. You have to really research and protect yourself from having what happened to me, really.
What happened when he pushed you down those stairs? Did you call the police and tell them or try to involve social workers?
I was out and left with my 16-year-old son, and he left the house with my girls. So I was there to die kind of by myself. So my son brought me up to bed, and I was unconscious for 10 hours. And when I came to, I didn't remember. I only remembered being pushed around, but I don't remember going down the stairs. I don't remember any of it. I couldn't move from the bed. My head was covered in contusions. I guess I went head first. And it's been covered up, and I did get the police involved, and I will be getting the police involved again. And, if I'm lucky, justice will be served, and if it isn't, it isn't. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that I'm alive, and I'm here to make a difference going forward. So really doesn't matter.
No, you're making a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not about revenge. It's not about going after someone who's done you wrong. You can't live with that, because if you live with that kind of anger when someone does wrong to you, then it's just going to eat you up inside. You can't do that. So you have to let it go and just go on in love and everything. But if you have to seek justice, seek it, because evil continues because people don't stop it.
People don't stop that. People just let it flourish, the evil, the sick acts against women and children. Because, the reality is a lot of times cops won't get involved in those kind of situations. Like you being pushed downstairs or you being beat up in your home, or the cops don't have to get involved unless they choose to.
No, and being on Twitter, I mean, there are stories far worse. I mean, there's women that have had their children murdered in front of them. There are absolutely horrific stories. So right across the board, this is a serious matter, and I'm very intense about it because it deserves serious attention. And, I mean, really, people are trapped in these situations. They don't know where to go for help. Well, I'm here. I know this much for sure. I'm an advocate. I've been this way for years, and I'll continue to be this way, so I'll be there to help people. So if anyone ever called upon me and really, truly needed my help and needed me to get in there and make a difference and say something, because at the end of the day, the aftermath and the effects that a lot of victims are left with is being misunderstood by people because their emotional state of mind is not very good. There's a reason that it's that way, and I think that that needs to be understood more, and that's what's not being understood. People are isolating themselves further when they come out of abuse. There's all kinds of different things that are happening. Support systems have been taken away from people. They're left with all kinds of different types of situations. That's one of the things I'd like to see changed.
You are an advocate. You're an advocate for victims of psychological abuse and psychological crimes in Canada.
Yes.
What are some good things happening in Canada, in your opinion, that you're working toward and you're seeing come to fruition in this area?
For one, the hospital in the town that I'm at, I've gone to the board of directors on the psychiatry floor. I've managed to get to the head of the department. I'm not allowed to go there and do any presentations because I, at the time, had no credentials. But what I did manage to do is I gathered some material on gaslighting. This is 3 years before I wrote the book. And I went to this lady, gave her the information, asked her in private if she would just look at it and then possibly share it with the psychiatrist on the floor with this goal that anybody who's a victim of abuse comes in to seek help because they feel like they're mentally messed up, that they are handled in a sensitive, dignified fashion. And I'm adamant about that. So as a result, she gave me great news to say that she's armed all the psychiatrists on the floor, and now they're making a difference that way. That's just a little difference. And so every single person out there, you can actually make a difference. You can do something. All you have to do is decide you want to do it and then go for it. For me, seeing a law change to make coercive control part of the domestic abuse laws as an illegal offense would be my next move.
Do you think that women and men too who are survivors of psychological abuse, do you think it's hard to find a path to healing because so many people act like this is not important, it's not a big deal? You were in a shit relationship, Reva. You left him. Get over it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not like that. It's trauma that's left behind. And that's also even elaborated in my book, really big. It talks about everything that spawns from the trauma. So when the trauma is there, there's all kinds of horrible things that come from that. Self-doubt, paranoia, anxiety, depression. Many victims commit suicide because they're so distraught. They've been so ripped apart. They don't feel there's anybody there who understands them. This is absolutely the main reason. People need to feel that they're understood. They need to feel that their experiences are validated. They need to feel that they're not alone in every single thing, and they need to understand it. And there isn't that out there. Abuse hotlines are not going to accomplish that. 1-800-I'm-being-abused is certainly not going to help you mentally position yourself so that you can even move forward. This is a huge process in victims, and yes, I do believe there's a lot of work that needs to be done there.
Well, I think you're doing it. I think you're doing a lot of great work, and I applaud your advocacy, and I'm really looking forward to reading this book. I'm liking the snippets, and I really enjoy your Twitter.
Thank you so much, and thank you for, even asking me to do this. I'm honored, and I'm really very grateful.
Well, I'm sorry for your suffering, but I'm grateful you're here to make a difference, Reva. Reva Steenbergen, thank you so very much, and best wishes and good luck with your book, The Gaslighting Effect.
Thank you, Lisa.
Please check Reva out at gaslightingeffect.com. And please check me out at lisalandry.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and support my work. It doesn't cost you anything, and you'll know when each podcast drops every Womanist Wednesday. Shout out Ari Bear. Look out for them narcissists, dude. They're bad news.